Welcome to episode 14 of The Leap Home, Blind Faith.
In this week's episode, Sam leaps into the body of a blind concert pianist who must save his girlfriend from both a serial killer and her smothering mother. On top of that, he has fewer than 24 hours to prepare himself to play a full concert with no music to help him. Can Sam pull all three things together in time? Or must he make a critical sacrifice?
Her name was Evita Evilatita. She used to lie on her back on the bench and play oldies with the toesies. Then she would kneel on the bench and bend over and play modern music with her...
Ow, I get the picture and thank you.
Good evening, Ian, how are we?
Not too bad, Gerry, how are you?
Attempting to lie on my back and podcast with my
Toes.
Yeah.
I wondered why you were sitting in the chair that way. Another interesting episode this week.
I really enjoyed it. However, I have to say, and we'll get to it, it contains one of the most horrifically written lines in possibly the entirety of TV history.
Okay, we'll see if we're thinking about the same thing.
Okay.
Later on. Interesting to see Sam pulling out his inner pianist.
Are you deliberately trying to goad me here, lead me?
No.
We've all been there. One time I was drunk.
Oh dear.
I also have big questions about the consistency of the leaping rules in this episode.
Yeah.
There are major
It's
issues
one of these
here.
ones, do we dig into it or do we just say,
No, we're digging
hand wave.
No, we're digging into it. That's the point of the podcast.
Yeah, but it's different every week. We have this discussion and they change it.
I
And
know.
it's like, well, we've not figured it out after all.
Well, we have to address it, and perhaps people smarter and better looking than us can explain.
Well, there's no one who's both.
No.
Anyway, if anyone does want to explain their way through this episode, they can contact us on social media. We're at Leap Home Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. We're at The Leap Home on Facebook. We've got our website up at theleaphome.com. And we would love you to come over to our YouTube channel at Columbo Podcast Productions, where you can subscribe and hit that little bell for reminders and leave your comments on each episode that gets posted there 1 week before it comes on the podcast feed.
Snapchat.
You said last time that you were going to leave the Snapchat.
I'm now reinvigorated. There's a love-hate relationship I have with it.
Yeah. Nobody else has the love part. It's just we just say it when you mention it. Yeah. Reviews, though, people should, if they can, review us. Leave, as we say, thumbs up on YouTube, but also Apple Podcasts is a great place to leave a 5-star review. We read all the ones that come in and we always appreciate them.
Did you ever play head down, thumbs up at school, or was that just...
Never did, yeah.
If you don't know what it is, it probably sounds more sinister than... I think head down, bums up in some places, but we'll not go into that.
Duck, duck, goose is a variant.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You would stand in a circle, the person would go duck, 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 and then when they said goose, you had to chase them around the circle.
Must have been an Ayrshire thing for you, Ian.
Well, it's a bit like heads down, thumbs up.
Okay.
Anyhow, shall we take a closer look at this episode?
Let's quack on.
Oh, God.
Where do we find ourselves, or where do we find Sam?
Well, similarly to the last few, I think this must be our season 2 thing. We get a witty mini recap, and he says he can always count on leaping being a surprise, and we see him arrive at this Carnie Hall.
Yeah, he's on stage where he finds himself receiving a standing ovation in front of a piano, and he gives it an oh boy.
He does, because he figures out from the dog sitting next to him that he's supposed to be blind. It's quite a good piece of intuition.
Yes. I mean, why would you assume that it's yourself?
Well, you're the only one on the stage and the dog's there with you. But would a blind pianist bring his seeing eye dog onto the stage?
Is he actually on it? I can't remember. Is he on the stage or is he to the wings?
I thought he was on up at the back of the stage.
Might have been.
Because he takes a bow.
Sure. Yeah, you would have someone take the dog away for a drink and something to eat, wouldn't you, and bring it back?
Yeah, you would think so.
Maybe the dog likes it.
It could be part of his routine. So
straight away we have to talk about the problem that even a blind person could see.
What's that?
So now we can confirm that he doesn't take on the physical attributes of the person he is leaping into.
He still has his own physical attributes, yes. Which means...
But that can't...
he shouldn't be able to box. He shouldn't be able to do all the other things that he's done.
As I've said before, if he has to leap into a bodybuilder, for example,
yep,
he would take on his size. He wouldn't.
Well, he would appear to take on the size, but he wouldn't actually, so he couldn't lift anything. Although he would look to other people like he was big and strong.
Why could he not lift it? He's in the body is there.
I know, I don't understand. Unless the body's not there, it just appears to be there to other people.
Okay, here's the thing. Let's use that as an example. If he had to stand on a set of scales, would it say he was, 200, a bodybuilder or whatever? Would he be, the 250, 300 pounds?
No, I think it would show his own weight, because I don't think you can fool scales the way you can fool people.
Right, okay.
Like it's something that'll be a visual trick or some kind of optical illusion that's causing this. And that won't fool the scales. That would be my guess.
No, but see, the height is definitely there, because if he is speaking to someone, they're looking up at this person. They're not looking at Sam's height. So if he jumps into a 6'5" or a basketball player.
Oh no, they always look at Sam's height. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, they do actually, yeah. Which is why I think last week they got a woman who was
tall,
quite Amazonian, as they say.
Is that the word?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so there's no consistency, we think.
So see, that's the thing. And so when he jumps into the body of old Jesse, who probably wasn't that old, it's a thing, but if he jumps into the body of an old man, can he still beat up someone half his age in if he had to?
I guess so. Bit like when he beat up Buddy last week.
Yeah, but that was only one. Yeah, that was one punch. But yeah, but a woman can still throw that one punch. But I mean, if he was in I don't know. It's irritating.
Or maybe he is in the blind person's body, but his brain is able to process the visual signals that the blind person's brain can't. Because he still receives the signals and he doesn't have the...
Yeah, but...
unless we don't know what's caused this guy to be blind, is it?
Yeah.
An accident, is it...
It's still a physical issue.
Genetic?
I think it's still a physical issue when you're blind, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure if we'll come back to this. We might come back to
I'm glad we've solved it.
Anyway. Sam
moves to the wings where a woman called Michelle, who's his assistant/girlfriend, I believe.
Well, yeah, that's yeah.
We'll let that germinate. Yeah, She's waiting, and his dog, Chopin, becomes increasingly agitated.
Yeah, I noted here, this is a terrible guide dog.
No, I think the guide dog realises it's Sam, or it's not the same person. He's upset.
It pulls Sam along. Surely dogs don't do that. I
don't think it normally would, but I think it thinks something's up.
In any case, she tells Andrew, that's the person he's looked into, that he was fantastic. However, he is more concerned about the calls for an encore. And when the dog starts growling, Sam suggests that it is a sign that they forget performing again.
Yes, but that's not how it's going to go. He is required to return to the piano where he pulls out a masterstroke.
He does. However, and I know you have to do it for the TV show, but what I would have done in this situation was, feigned illness. Oh, I really need to go to the toilet. All of a sudden, there's some medical emergency and I can't get back on. I wouldn't put myself in that position where all of a sudden I've got to play the piano. And again, this is another issue in terms of consistency we'll get to later on. Anyway, how does he get out of the situation on this occasion?
He plays chopsticks, which amuses the audience, and they give him a standing ovation.
Now, I can see how him doing that initially, they would laugh and go, look at that, it's a good joke. But then they say, right, okay, we've paid our money here. Now,
well, it's just the encore. I mean, he has played a full concert.
Yeah, sure. But most people, the encore, you leave I don't know what it's like in the classical world, but you leave one of your big numbers or a big piece till for the encore. Maybe. Everyone's waiting for it. You've not played it yet. And then if you don't get it, you're like, that's not...
It's not like he's an artist with his own music. He's playing other people's music.
Yeah, but still, people appreciate there's certain pieces which are classics, obviously.
Maybe. Michelle appreciates it as well. When he comes off stage, she tells him that he never ceases to amaze her.
Yeah, and wonders what he will do tomorrow night.
And then we get a brief sort of freeze frame.
Yeah.
Before the credits.
And then an exterior of New York, as the date is shown to be...
February the 6th, 1964.
We're on the street. He walks arm in arm with Michelle as she tells him how proud she is and that she could never do what he does. This seems like an odd conversation to be having with someone who you know already.
Yeah.
It's like every single time does she say this? I can never do that. Yeah, that's my job. I'm a pianist. It shouldn't be amazing anymore.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that annoys me. I was watching a movie, I think it was the Harry Potter movies, and they rescue I think the third one, they rescue the guys down at the lake, and then it shows them 5 minutes later flying in the back of this animal, and they're talking about what happened. It's like, why did you wait 10 minutes to have this conversation?
Yeah. That happens quite a lot, actually, in movies where they cut to a period that you'd think, by this point you would have had some sort of conversation. Anyhow,
Michelle is offered the opportunity by Sam to swap places, but she's not very keen.
No. I don't, especially the blindness. It's like, you're all right.
She says she's not made for the limelight, but he is.
Yeah.
And he spots at this point a newspaper with the date,
which is noticed by Michelle, who asks if something is wrong. So she sees him notice the newspaper.
Yeah.
He mumbles something about wanting to know the time and was going to ask the vendor, which she thinks is incredible that he would know there's a vendor standing there.
Consistently incredulous in this episode. Every time he does something like this, she's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you can smell things and hear things.
She is quite passively patronising.
Maybe a bit naive.
Yeah.
Anyhow, she says he heard the papers rustling in the wind. That's how he knew they were passing a newsstand. But also, they probably walk the same way.
Yeah.
Lots of times, or he might have come from Carnegie Hall to his apartment.
Sure.
And knows where the newsstand is.
In any case, she asks what is wrong with his watch before pulling out a braille timepiece from his pocket and putting his finger on the piece. But it's through a leather glove. Surely that doesn't work.
He's not gonna, but he can see it, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's true. And the note is 11:30. Again, just a sidetrack here. I have so much respect or incredulity to people who can read braille. I have tried it before. You put your finger on it, and it's just not. It's nothing.
Yeah, I don't think I've got enough nerve endings in my finger to discern between the number of dots.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even. Yeah, you can't say that's 2 or 3 dots. I just feel something's a little bit rough.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's a real skill,
for sure.
A newspaper that's been abandoned on the ground shows that 3 women have been strangled in Central Park. There's obviously a serial killer nearby, which is an ominous twist.
Yeah, it certainly is. Before they stop outside his apartment.
Mind if I ask you a question?
As long as it's not about anything personal or professional.
What made you decide to play chopsticks?
It's the only thing that came to mind. Why are we stopping?
Because I told Mama I'd be home by midnight.
Your mother?
I know. She still thinks I'm about 14.
Well...
But let's not get started about her again. You should at least wait until you meet her before you make up your mind. I mean, I'm sure the two of you will get along just great. I've told her all about you, and she's just so anxious to make a good impression, that she just wants to wait until everything is just right before...
Michelle, it's okay. It'll wait.
Sorry. So look, do you want me to pick up your other tux at the cleaners tomorrow?
If it won't be a problem.
No. No, that's what assistants are for. Even if they are unpaid. Well, you take care of the maestro, Chopin.
Thought it was a bit off that she's unpaid.
Yeah.
Why is she doing that? He's playing Carnegie Hall.
Well, I don't think she's actually... Well, it's not clear, because he treats her more like a girlfriend than an assistant.
Yeah, taking advantage of her a little bit, I think, yeah.
Well, yeah, she is a little bit, what's the word? She's not streetwise.
No. She leaves, and as Sam looks at his keys, a glamorous French lady who knows him exits the building with her own little dogs, and when she passes by, Sam does an owl and lowers his glasses to check her out before checking himself for doing it.
Yeah, her dogs are called Napoleon and Josephine.
Inside his apartment, he enters and looks in the mirror to see a youngish man with flickering eyes that signifies his blindness.
Yeah, I'm not clear what happens. Is he in his apartment or is he just in the corridor? Because this other guy shows up.
Yeah, no, he's not closed the door.
Right, so he's in his apartment with the door open. This happens again.
Yeah. Chopin barks and Sam says, yeah, and is immediately surprised at the appearance of who? What?
A police officer.
Yes, coming from the apartment across the hall. and moans. I think he's moaning about the vernacular of the day.
Yeah, he says "not you too" to Sam. He's concerned about all these people who are obsessing over the imminent arrival of the Beatles.
Yeah, and then he mentions the more serious problem of the neck stretcher that he is faced with. Now, I'll be honest, I cannot remember this episode in any great detail, but I immediately took a note here saying he is the killer.
Well, he's just come out of that French woman's apartment who disappeared out walking her dogs, and now she's about to be murdered, so...
Yeah. And if this isn't bad enough, apparently, he's doing double shifts to, as you mentioned, to protect some Brits who are due to play the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah. Pete, this guy's name is.
Okay.
Sam reads it off his badge.
Yes. Helpful, isn't it, when you don't know anyone that's got name tags?
He gives the dog some peanuts and appears to be friendly. So Sam, like I say, calls him Pete, and he seems happy enough with that and heads off.
And we head to Michelle's apartment, where we see her go into, it's clearly a less salubrious area and place she lives.
Yeah.
And what does she do?
She opens the fire hose sort of compartment in the wall and retrieves her studying materials.
Yeah, she's obviously hidden them, stashed them in there before tentatively entering her home. She listens and is glad that it seems her mother is asleep, but alas, she's waiting for her. And
then proceeds one of the hardest scenes to watch for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, okay, firstly, she's got a face as stern as her attitude. Michelle apologises. Like this timid... You mentioned before we started recording that the mother relationship reminded you of something, and I think it might have been It.
Yeah, the sickly kid.
Yes, yeah. But also there's a touch of them. Was it Miss Honeywell or Miss from Matilda?
Okay. Miss Honey, not the nice teacher.
Yes, but it turns out the head teacher, Trunchbull, was her.
Right.
Yeah, and she was very living under her
control.
So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, tell us about what goes on here.
Well, Michelle buries herself in a number of different lies that are all found out.
She is extremely, as you say, naive here and unstreetwise. I mean, she can't even lie.
She's not very good at it.
No.
She says she went for ice cream with Marcia and Aggie after studying, but her mother says she should have called. Her mother's obviously one step ahead.
Of course. And she proves this by doing what?
Well, she produces a book.
A very heavy book.
That Michelle seemed to have forgotten, and it's implied that she went to the library and found Marcia and Aggie studying without Michelle.
Yeah, I mean, she sort of comes clean by telling her that she got a last-minute ticket for a recital. But her domineering mother doesn't think this is acceptable, as apparently she's worked very hard to put her through nursing school, and gallivanting with God knows who shows a complete lack of respect.
You get the feeling this isn't the first time they've had this sort of conversation, because the mother isn't losing her temper. She's just very measured and deliberate in the way that she delivers this. I'm not sure what the word would be, but this sort of reprisal or not.
Yeah, sure. And it's interesting that you see the mother's taking this approach. Sometimes they could... We've seen these sort of characters before where they play on the emotions by saying, "Oh, I'm not well. I'm weak myself. I need you to look after me. If you leave me, I won't survive." But she doesn't take that. It's far more authoritative and overpowering.
Yeah. Basically, she implies that Michelle's going to flunk her finals, and then when her husband leaves her with a 2-year-old and no way to earn, she'll wake up and realise that she's tired and worn out and no longer good looking. And you wonder, is this talking from experience?
I think for sure it's a reflection of where she... I think we see that towards the end of the episode, but I think that's a reflection of how she sees her life has panned out. In any case, Michelle lies again and insists that she was alone, which sends her into a rant of actually, I've no idea, of self-description.
Yes, and Michelle's clearly sad at this point. Her mother says that no Prince Charming is coming along and she needs to be able to look after herself. She tells her that nursing's a worthwhile profession with a steady dollar, and there's always going to be need for nurses.
Now, I think, okay, so the bitterness of her mother's is self-evident here. Yeah. But again, as we've mentioned before in a few different episodes, I'm not entirely against her attitude. Like, she's like saying, get yourself a good career and a job and look after yourself. You can't rely on a man to come along and create this sort of lifestyle for you. It's not, I don't think that's...
But I don't think that's what Michelle's doing.
No,
She's just going out
yes.
with somebody.
Yeah. We never find out if Michelle's actually studying hard and is being a successful student.
Well, we get the impression she doesn't want to be a nurse later on.
Well, that's fair enough, but yeah, I mean, you should be doing something rather than... I don't, what her plan is to just hang about and watch Sam. That's not... I would advise her against doing that, get some sort of qualifications and, and look after yourself.
I mean, her mother's final put down is pretty brutal.
What was that?
She says that a fool's dreams may be dreams, but they also belong to a fool.
Yeah. I think just how she's delivering this, I think like any parent, she wants the best.
Yeah, I think Michelle goes to bed and you can see from her mother's expression that she genuinely holds those feelings. She wasn't just putting this on to scare her. It's
clear that she's a sort of tough life herself, bringing up back in those days a single parent, and as resents what's happening. I think she doesn't want her daughter to have that life.
Yeah,
but she's not. She's not making the point very lovingly.
No.
Back over in Sam's apartment, he is looking for sheet music as Al remembers an old friend who used to play the piano with the different body parts.
We heard that at the top of the show. Sam is strangely confused that the blind man doesn't have written music.
This guy's 19 PhDs in 27 different languages, a genius that he can, and he doesn't appreciate that.
No.
If you're blind, you don't have a lot of books around the house or things to read.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
No. Why is this guy not got an extensive library and classical music? He's only got audiobooks. He loves podcasts. Al goes on to tell him that Andrew is the Ray Charles of classical music and learns it all by ear, before noting that it is only 3 days before the Beatles are due on the TV. And then he looks into what information he has about Sam's objective.
Yeah, because Sam wants to know if he might leap before the concert.
That would be good. I mean, that's like sort of stuff of nightmares. It's the equivalent of you've got an exam and you've not studied.
Yeah.
On stage right now.
Play the piano, yeah. Jeez. Al tells him that in the original timeline, the concert was a great success, and Sam mutters that it won't be this time.
No. However, the success of the concert isn't paramount. What else happens?
No, because after the concert, Michelle is murdered by the serial killer.
Yeah, she's strangled in Central Park. Sam initially looks on the upside. He's able to see.
Yes, he may be able to intervene.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure if Andrew being blind, it's not like, it could only have happened if her friend was blind. It's a killer, isn't it?
I think he's assuming he would be with her.
Yeah.
However, he then realises that if he's going to save her, that means he has to go through with the concert.
However, Al asks him to trust him, even though Al himself can't play, and guarantees he will perform wonderfully the following night, and we'll talk about that.
Yes. Al leaves through his shiny door, and Chopin starts scraping around where the door was.
Down in Central Park, the Frenchwoman is looking for her dog when she's suddenly strangled from behind by a person wearing a balaclava.
Yep.
That's about it. Yeah.
Probably some kind of serial killer then.
Looks like it.
Next day, Beetlemania kicking off in the streets.
Yeah, it's quite a hard cut we have to this packed street outside. I'm not sure if it was the Ed Sullivan's studio or if it was a hotel where they're staying.
It looked like a hotel.
Yeah, it did. With hundreds of girls screaming after the arrival of the Beatles. And Sam smiles as he appreciates the fact that he's witnessing these iconic scenes. And I think you would like that. You'd enjoy it, wouldn't you?
A girl runs in his general direction to her friends, screaming that she touched Ringo before fainting.
And Sam forgets who he is for a second as he catches her.
Imagine you just let her follow. It's like,
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
He passes her back to her friends before any questions are asked. And Chopin is then able to save him from being killed by a car.
Yeah. I mean, he can see he shouldn't really be doing this.
No, yeah. It's just as well he had the dog, even though he's...
yeah.
Pete, at this point, shows up on a horse and says that Chopin didn't only save his life, he also saved him from a jaywalking ticket.
Yeah. He is still unhappy about having to babysit the hordes, but before he leaves, he informs Sam about the recent strangling case.
Yes.
We go for a spot of lunch next, I think.
It's some kind of cafe. Michelle's asking Sam what's up, and he says that he's feeling a little bit of stage fright.
And then we have this.
This is, yes, I've written in a badly written response.
Okay,
There you go.
yeah. And I think this is just a horrible, horrible line. She compares the chances of him having stage fright to a B-movie actor becoming president. Now, this is worse than any of the worst lines from Back to the Future. This is totally out of context. There's no reason for her to make this comparison. It is just like if you ask a kid to write something in a time travel show that shows that, just to make a point. I nearly vomited when I heard it. I thought,
Out of your ears.
who wrote this? Well, fine, you can tell me in the trivia, but I don't understand how a professional writer would put that down, and then I don't understand how it would go through whatever checks and balances, script supervisors and producers and directors, and then the
It's
actor,
not even slightly funny.
and then the actors themselves. Yeah, why would you say that? A B-movie actor? It's not. It's just so specific to Reagan. Like,
Yeah.
she couldn't even have said, "Oh, it's like the same chances, an actor and using someone else that's famous, off there, or Frank Sinatra or whoever would be big back then, or Ringo." It's just horrible, and it should have been deleted. When this person wrote it, even at the time, thinking surely they go back, a little bit later and they go, right, I'm gonna read through my writing here and I'll see what I think and tweak it and change it. She must have, or he must have read it again and went, yep, that's good stuff. I'll submit that to the boss. Sacked on the spot for that.
Yeah. She's doing as well as saying something like, that's as unlikely as the Beatles stopping touring within the next 2 years.
No, that'd be more. That would be more because at least there'd be context and there'd be relevance there.
I suppose, yeah.
I mean, why would you say a B-movie actor?
It doesn't, yeah, no, I thought it was terrible.
They get their food and Sam makes another mistake by telling the waitress that she forgot the mustard.
And he explains that he can smell it if it's there and he can't smell it.
I've got a note here. That seems possible.
Yeah, but you think he maybe in reality say, is there mustard to Michelle because he can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
smell
sure if he's got dog smell, it's like, it might be. Yeah.
The waitress doesn't agree with Michelle's suggestions that it would be great to have such a powerful sense of smell, given the pungent nature of her husband's feet.
I quite like that line. And still, he can't help himself. He
tells her she's got a pretty smile.
it's just-
And then he goes full weirdo, saying that she should try to smile more often.
that's horrible. It's just inappropriate. It's just that's just what her face is like. Don't tell people
you
that.
can't see that she's not smiling.
Precisely, but even if you could, it's not the type of thing you should be saying to
It's
people.
a horrible thing to say to someone.
Smile more often.
Get lost.
Yeah.
I'll smile when I'm wanting to smile.
Don't tell me what to do with my face. It's absolutely shocking.
And then she just goes with it, saying that there's not much chance to smile, given that I'm dealing with dying people at the hospital. Which you think would calm him down a bit, but she then says it's different around him. She feels more relaxed, like she can be herself.
Well, obviously she can't, because he's saying don't be yourself, smile more often.
Yeah, but why would you want to be yourself when you're nursing?
Yeah.
You've got a professional job to do.
Yeah, being yourself is, this is really terrible. People are dying here. I feel really bad and I can't cope. No, it's not. That's not. I don't want a medical
I just
professional.
wanted to sing.
Yeah, don't be yourself. Be the role.
Anyway, she tells him that he has to do the concert. There's no excuses, because she wants to come and dodge her mother's tuna casserole.
Yeah, well, he asks when he will get to meet her, and she lies. Like, she's just a compulsive liar, and she doesn't.
Yeah.
She just gets herself into all sorts of trouble by saying that she invited her for the concert, but she declined, although is looking forward to meeting him in the future.
The reason that she gives for declining is terrible. It's like, she's been working hard and she's a single parent. Of you?
If you, yeah, not
Who's
if
an adult?
I mean, what age do you think she's meant to be here?
Early 20s, yeah.
Sam mentions that her mother must be proud of her as a nurse, and Michelle tells her that, that's all her mother ever wanted, for her to be a nurse.
Yes, but she herself prefers to be around music.
Again, I have sympathy with the mother here, just being around. That doesn't, like, being around.
I'm going to be a rock star.
Yeah, that's that. Being around great music, it's not even I am going to, take lessons. I'm very talented myself.
Yeah.
And because again, it's not pop music where you could actually, by being, good looking enough or having basic skills, get a career, as we've seen many times. But in the classical field, what she loves, if you're not a prodigy, if you're not by the age of 10, you're not.
It's not happening.
It's not happening. So you can't just hang about a classical groupie.
Yeah. Suddenly, though, she realises that she's going to be late for class and gets up to go.
And at this point, Sam invites her to dinner after the concert and asks her to choose where.
Somewhere nice.
And she smiles and admits she'll have to ask and seems embarrassed about it before taking some control and then confidently agreeing to the date.
But not somewhere nice, because she doesn't know anywhere nice. They have to go somewhere that's kind of a little bit nice.
I mean, what? Just because you can't afford to go to nice places, like, you can still, you know, I don't have a Lamborghini, but I can name you nice cars.
Yeah. Sam smiles with relief, but outside we see the ominous presence of Michelle's mother watching them.
See, this is really quite extreme.
She's gone full Stasi.
Yeah. Back in Sam's apartment, he sits back and listens in wonder to Andrew's brilliant playing and can't believe how Al is going to get him through the performance that night.
Chopin shows up with his food bowl, looking for more.
And then growls at Al in the kitchen, who returns the favour by insulting him, which results in the dog leaping for him.
Yes, going right through.
Yeah, but that delights Al.
Yes, he notes that the dog eats better than he does, but Sam tells him that's fair enough because the dog works harder than he does.
However, there is a dramatic turn as Sam talks to Chopin and reads out the description of the food, unaware that Michelle's mother is standing behind him watching.
Barco bites.
Sam.
Shaped like tiny little cats for the treats dogs love to eat.
Now there's a neat trick. A blind man reading a dog food box.
You should have said something.
I did.
I did. I said that's a neat trick. A blind man reading a dog food box.
You don't understand.
Oh, I understand perfectly well. Now we can keep this real simple.
I don't like the sound of this, Sam.
What you do with your own life is your business. If you want to persist in this blind charade, I won't stop you. But if you continue to see my daughter...
You're Michelle's mother?
It's more like the Wicked Witch of the
I'm
East.
surprised you know. She never told me
Or
about
is it
you.
the Wicked Witch of the West?
How'd you get in here?
The door was open. I guess being blind, you couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's right.
Personally, I don't give a damn what your scam is, as long as it doesn't hurt my daughter.
Look, Mrs. Stevens.
No, you look, and I know you obviously can. No one is going to take my daughter from me. No one. Now, either you stop seeing her, or I expose you for the fake that you are.
Do you remember the Jonathan Creek episode where there was a fake blind musician who used that as a cover to molest women?
No.
Do you not?
Which episode was
I
that?
can't remember the episode. It was one with, remember his Adam's Scottish sister?
Yes.
And what's her name from Les Dennis's ex?
Amanda Holden.
Yes.
It's, the
Gallows.
Gate.
Yeah. If anyone
It's a
likes,
two-parter.
that's a two-part. If anyone likes Jonathan Creek and would like to listen to a podcast about it, you can always.
Yeah, we already did that. You can go to our YouTube channel where you'll find it in a handy playlist. We head to Carnegie Hall.
The dressing room. Sam is getting changed with a sigh and then apologises to his reflection for what he's about to do to his career.
Michelle comes in and she has confidence that he's going to be great, but is surprised to learn that her mother has been in touch.
Yes, and she finds out that Sam realises she's been lying.
Yes, about telling her mother about him.
She admits that she couldn't do it and states that she has been emotionally beaten down by her, leaving her lacking self-worth. I'm not sure if people who are emotionally beaten down and lacking self-worth are able to
Say that.
identify that, because, yeah.
And Sam focuses on the fact that she is pretty, which he can't possibly know, despite what her mother says.
Yeah, it's also not the best compliment coming from a blind person. It's like, you're really attractive. You don't know. Come on.
You are stupid and useless, but you have a nice face.
It's like me telling some physicist, oh, your work there looks brilliant. If I glance through the your formula and it looks top notch, do you know anything about physics? No, but you look good.
Those numbers all seem to add up.
She breaks down and apologises for complaining about her life to a guy like him, claiming people must have treated him badly, and she asks how he deals with it. Now, an awful lot of assumptions there. It's like, firstly, putting him down. Oh, you've got a really bad. He's like, no, I'm blind and I cope fine. And I'm a famous classical musician with a great lifestyle.
People respect me.
Yeah. Oh, people must have always treated you, but no, people don't.
It's been fine.
Yeah, they don't bully, blind guys generally. It's not a thing.
Yeah,
People are quite helpful and respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sympathetic, if anything.
yeah.
He explains to her that he sometimes feels like a scientist in the middle of an experiment that nobody else believes in, but has to persuade himself that he is the only person he needs to listen to, and she should do the same. Listen to him or herself?
Herself.
Okay.
She pulls away and cries that she owes her mother for looking after her since her father died. She can't simply
He died when
dismiss.
he left.
Was it yeah, okay, left. I'm not sure you do owe your mother for looking after you. I mean, that's
what Sam says. He says that she owes her love, but not her life.
yeah. I mean, that's the mother's job. Parents' job is to look after their kid.
Yeah.
And at this point, he gets his 2-minute performance notification.
She asks him how he got to be so smart, and he says that he just sees things a little differently. Is that a wee blind joke there?
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh.
On the wings, or in the wings.
Sam is getting very agitated now.
Yeah, he nervously asks for Al to appear and is overheard by someone and has to pretend that that Chopin he's talking to.
Yes, then Chopin pulls him out on stage and he has to sit at the piano and he's again desperately calling for Al as Chopin whimpers.
So another rendition of Chopsticks looks to be on the cards until his friend eventually appears with sheet music. We've got big issues here, but we'll leave it a second. Chopin barks at Al, and Sam uses this to interact with his fans by claiming he wants to play, which gets a laugh.
Yeah.
Sam looks at the music and tells Al he can't play it, but is told to try. He does, and he can.
That's not how music works.
Oh,
It's like a language.
Precisely. Okay, so let's unpack this. Best case scenario is that Andrew could previously read the music. He wasn't blind from birth, and therefore Sam is able to. Well, see, that's
The implication here is that Sam can read music, same as he can read hieroglyphics, because he's been a pianist himself. He's played Carnegie Hall when he was a kid.
Who?
Sam. That's what Al tells him. He played when he was 19. He played Carnegie Hall as a pianist.
Yeah, not Sam.
Yes, Sam.
No, Andrew.
No, Sam.
No, why would Sam have played Carnegie
He's
Hall?
a pianist. That's the whole thing. That's the whole reveal. That's why Al was so confident he'd be able to play with the sheet music.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I didn't take that. Have you looked into this to make sure?
Ah, that's it. That's what
All
the reveal
right.
is.
I thought he was talking about saying, don't be nervous. You have already played this when you were like...
No, because why would he mention being 19? He would just say you played it last night. If he was talking about Andrew.
That's a point. Oh, yeah.
So Sam is a concert pianist. That's another one of his things that he can do.
Okay, let's take a step back from this. I can accept, people who are of high intelligence, I can accept that he, as part of his upbringing, he would have played the piano. But what concert pianist level? Again, that's another thing that you can't just do as a part-time hobby. These people, it's like grandmasters at chess. Even the smartest people around.
He seems to have an infinite amount of time.
Yeah. How's he doing this?
Maybe he gave it up after he played Carnegie Hall at 19, so I've done it now.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
But the other thing I don't get is, you either can't, if you can play, you can play. He should have been able to play the previous night as well.
Of course. Yeah, him seeing this now, what does that mean? Suddenly there's some sort of...
I think they're implying it's like his language reading. Now that he's seeing it, his body remembers, his hands remember that he can play.
Okay.
And it's that knowledge that allows him to go on and
Okay,
do
but
it.
even then, right, here's a problem with that. Firstly, if you've not played for, the best part of 20 years...
Yeah.
That's like saying, I was, you were a footballer when you were 90, a professional footballer. You've not done it for all those years. Now, your hands, you wouldn't be able to physically play it.
No.
That's why they don't just get to this level and then only turn up for concerts. They practice for hours a day because you need to keep
So why did Al not show up with the sheet music at the apartment when he had time to practice? During the day, there's a piano there.
Precisely.
Why is he leaving until the night?
Why didn't you tell him that? Sam, you're a concert pianist. Why is it this
he's
big
not
review?
tell him anything about his past.
But you did tell him about it on
Once
stage.
he figured it out himself.
Yeah, I'm not having this at all. No.
We see lots of different tunes. Sam's able to play lots of them, but It's not all going to go swimmingly.
No, so okay, everyone, yeah, as you say, is going great. Michelle is smiling until her mom creeps up behind her and remarks that this is another quiet night at the library. She's like a Michael Myers. She gets everywhere.
Yeah.
She insists that she was going to tell her. And after the stagehand asks her to put out her cigarette, she eventually, dismissively, drops it to the floor.
Why do you treat people like that? Because that's the way people treat me. But maybe if I what? If I was soft and sweet like you. Wake up, Michelle. The world is not carnations and tuxedos, not for you and me. Look out there and listen. He is a star. Do you honestly believe that he wants someone as ordinary as you clinging to him everywhere he goes?
Why are you doing this to me?
Because I don't want to see you get hurt.
You're just jealous that I have a life and you don't.
He's not blind. Your wonderful, sensitive concert pianist is not blind. It's an act, Michelle. Just like everything he's ever said to you.
At this, or shortly after this, Sam comes to the wings and comments on Agnes being there.
Yeah, he's taking another standing ovation and a bow alongside Chopin, but this euphoria is brought crashing down when he acknowledges the mother.
This leads Michelle to believe that he can see, and she runs off.
Mm-hmm. Before he can explain, he is dragged back onto the stage by Chopin, and this allows Michelle to make this exit. So we're out in the street where Sam has followed her, but he can't see her in the middle of Beetlemania as the Fab Four also exit their hotel at the same time.
Yes, and he is then blinded by a flashbulb going off in his face.
Yeah, I think at first he drops his glasses, and when he stands with them off, this happens, and he stumbles away holding his eyes. Now, I'm not sure about would that have happened? I know the bulbs were different back then, they were made from different things, and if you get a flash in the eye, but is that the type of thing that you could blind you? Because he's worried that he'll be permanently blind.
Yeah, well, maybe.
But you would know about that. Should that be a thing, wouldn't you? You know, he would, as a scientist, he would know that back then these things could have happened.
I guess. I don't know. It certainly seems to be plausible.
It does, but on the other hand, you think the band, all these photographers taking pictures of the Beatles. If these things are blind people,
it exploded, so maybe it's not just in its normal
sure
frame of work. It's maybe gone off brighter than it normally should.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Did you like the point of view shots we got after he was blinded?
Yes, I mean,
we got quite a few of them. The sort of starry vision.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly obvious way of doing it, representing the blindness. But I think what else you need to do. Yeah.
Chopin once again saves him as he tries to cross the road to get to a fountain and runs his face.
Yeah, he does. I think Al wants to get him to a hospital.
Yeah, but he needs to save Michelle.
Yeah.
He does get to the fountain and rinses his eyes, but he still can't see.
Yeah, now here again, another question about this whole consistency.
So assuming now if this was permanent and he leaped, he would still be blind wherever he leapt.
Really? But this is Andrew's body he's in.
No,
Andrew's blind already.
It's his own body, it just looks like Andrew's body to everybody else.
We need some explanation. But here's the thing, I know this might well be explained in more detail throughout the show. So we're asking not for spoilers because these are questions that we have.
Yeah.
So there might be people kicking themselves and shouting at us going, but this is why. It's explained
from the evidence so far.
Yeah.
Saying,
episode 53 explains it all well. Yeah. So if you can give us information without spoiling anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if it does, maybe it's never explained. It's just really...
Maybe it's explained 3 different ways.
Yeah.
They get to Central Park anyway, with Chopin and Al leading Sam towards Michelle, who's wandering through the park further ahead, very upset.
Yeah, with a score that suggests trouble. It's like a horror movie as she hears something and turns but sees nothing before walking on and then turning again, and this time it's the stuff of nightmares.
It's the balaclava man is at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, staring menacingly down and pulling a cord.
Yeah.
So this isn't good. Yeah. She screams and runs, but he chases her and drags her to the ground, gets on top of her and gives her a slap.
Yes, She, though, is able to retrieve, I think it's a nail file from her bag and stabs him between the shoulder blades.
Gives her a chance to break free. Meanwhile, Sam and Al have come to a fork in the road, and Chopin makes a decision for them and leads them to the scene of the attack where they find her purse.
They do. Fortunately for Michelle, there's a friendly face in the park waiting for her.
Yeah, she runs into the arms of the now out of uniform Pete, but when she sees blood on her hands after she gives him a hug, she knows she's in trouble.
She does. She realises this is the killer. Fortunately, Sam and Chopin are close enough that when the dog is released from his control, he's able to take Pete out and pin him down.
And as he's doing this, Sam gropes around and finds his handcuffs, which he is able to get on, and then he and Michelle hug in relief that it is all over. I've mentioned this so many times on different podcasts, but there was a sense of the maniac cop.
Was there?
Have you not watched any of them yet?
Still not watched any of them.
Yep.
I have no plans to.
You should. They're a brilliant trilogy. I mean, some people don't like the third. I do, but the first two are classics.
Universal.
Yeah, everyone thinks they're brilliant.
Some time passes and we see Pete being manhandled into the back of a police car, claiming it was his job to take care of the girls in the park.
Yeah, he's rambling like the maniac that he is.
Meanwhile, Michelle's mother, Agnes, is telling Sam that this would not have happened if he'd just left Michelle alone.
She also thinks that she's deluded and naive and tries to prove that he is lying. How?
She lights a match and holds it up in front of his eye, but when he doesn't react, she realises that she was wrong to suggest he wasn't blind.
And so she turns on her heels, I think a bit embarrassed, a bit shocked, followed by Michelle, who Sam tells to go after her.
Yes, he says he's not going anywhere. But Al says you shouldn't be so sure, because he might be about to leap. Sam gets some good news at this point.
Yeah, he seems quite happy that his sight is returning, but wonders why he hasn't leapt at this point. And Al tells him that he has saved her physical life, but not necessarily her emotional one.
This reminded me a bit of the one with the stuntman, Disco Inferno, where even though the mother's going through this, you think she's going through this arc, it's like, no, actually, she's still where she was.
Yeah.
Same as the father in that episode. It's like, it looks like he's going through an arc. No, he hasn't changed his mind.
And so at this point, Sam approaches both of them.
Stay away from us.
If that's what Michelle wants.
She doesn't know what she wants.
Because you've made all her decisions for her. Based on your life, on your problems.
My problems?
Michelle wasn't abandoned by her husband and left with a child to raise.
Let's go, Michelle.
Mother.
Michelle loves you, Mrs. Stevens. Probably so much that she'll go with you. Sacrifice her life to satisfy your anger. Is that what you want?
I want her to have it better than I did. I love her.
I know you do. But it's a smothering love. Choking the life out of her just as surely as Pete was.
And you won't, huh?
I hope not.
You going with him?
I want to, but not if it means leaving you, Mama.
Maybe it's time I made my life a little easier. I mean, why should I be up all hours worrying about you? I mean, why should I? I have a life too, you know.
Yes, Mama.
It's not over for me, not by a long shot.
No, Mama.
Maybe somebody else should take up the load.
Yes, Mama.
Oh, Mama.
Sam saying, yes, Mama, that was weird and creepy.
So sarcastic.
Yeah. Is that not what Elle says in Stranger Things? Is it not Papa?
Papa,
No.
she says a lot, yeah.
Yes.
She never doesn't say Mama.
But
Well, she does a little bit. There's one, well, that's not spoiling. Okay. That was a bit of face saving there from Michelle's mother.
Yeah, but I thought it was good because she, bearing in mind her personality, she couldn't simply say, I am wrong. So she has to
Spin it.
spin it a little bit, which I think is fine and consistent with the Her character, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a hug between Michelle and her mother at this point. Sam looks satisfied and Al tells him, well done, at which point he leaps.
Yes, into a radio station and the body of a DJ playing rock and roll in the 1950s.
Yes, a woman chaps the window and tells him to stop messing around and read his commercial, and he looks like he's quite pleased that this is going to be easy.
I think it's easier than being a blind man after a serial killer.
Yeah, he's probably quite relieved.
Yeah.
We'll find out if that was a good idea, or a fair assumption next week.
Okay.
I thought that this episode with the blindness side of it could easily have descended into slapstick, so it was quite good that they avoided that. Didn't have him falling over things or walking into people.
Yeah, there was a respect there. And I love any type of show or movie that's sort of set at like a nighttime feel in Central Park with serial killers,
Yeah.
the Maniac Cop type thing.
Yeah.
I really liked.
I thought the best performer was the dog playing Chopin.
Okay.
Couldn't find out anything about him, unfortunately,
Nah.
but he was great.
Yeah, he was good. As we mentioned through it, there are the big issues about the inconsistency of what Sam can and cannot do when he leaps.
Yeah.
We've been over that already in
some
great detail.
The clip of the audience applauding, it looked like they were sped up, like it was something out of a silent movie or something.
Right, okay.
The sort of real.
Sure.
I don't know if you noticed that. It seemed a bit weird to me.
Okay. I didn't notice.
Any other thoughts before we get into the trivia?
Just, a very enjoyable episode.
Yeah, that was good. 2 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Originally aired on the 1st of November 1989. And that means there was no gap this time, so it's just 1 week from the previous episode. Directed by David G. Finney with a PH. This was his only Quantum Leap episode and one of only 4 shows that he directed on at all. But it's an interesting career because he directed for BJ and the Bear, which is fine, but Buck Rogers in the 25th Century was another one. He wrote for Battlestar Galactica, was an associate producer on it, and on The Bionic Woman and The $6 Million Man, and on the 80s show Hunter. So some fairly high profile shows that he's been associated with, but there's nothing about him online apart from the list of his credits.
Oh, there you go. I watched a bit of Hunter a few months ago.
You like it?
Yeah, it's okay.
He did writing for that as well. That seems to be mostly
Yeah.
his sort of thing, maybe his thing. You know?
Sure.
So your villain for the week, Scott Shepherd, wrote the episode. Second of 3 that he's written, and the previous one was Play It Again, Seymour, which you can go back to if you want to hear more about him. Michelle was played by Cynthia Bain. Her only Quantum Leap episode, she was also in things like Knots Landing and Pumpkinhead. Her last screen credit was in 2005, but she's since gone on to work as a performance consultant and an acting coach, and she runs Cynthia Bain's Young Actor Studio in California. And interestingly, her middle name is Corvette.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's 58 years old now. Agnes Stevens, the mother, was played by Jennifer Rhodes. This was her only Quantum Leap, but she's perhaps most recognisable as Winona Ryder's mother in Heathers.
Ah.
She's also been in shows like Ally McBeal, Friends, Third Rock from the Sun, and Charmed, and as of the date of recording, she turns 75 tomorrow, so happy birthday, Jennifer. She remains active.
Good.
Kevin Skousen, this is another interesting one. He played Peter O'Shannon, the cop/killer.
Mm-hmm.
This is his only Quantum Leap, and part of it's just a short list of screen credits overall. He was in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Dharma and Greg, and Veronica Mars, and some other stuff. He appears to remain kind of active, but he's also the director of a tennis academy near San Diego, and he's now 62 years old.
There you go.
Trivia, as Sam mentions, and in fact we see the events of the episode are just a day before the Beatles arrived in the US initially, and then obviously the day that they were there. In the shots of New York, we see the original World Trade Center towers, but they weren't built until 1972, or weren't finished until 1972. We see a bus with a SEPTA logo, which is the Philadelphia Transit, or Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, and didn't start operating until 1965. So we see this sort of stuff, these sort of minor discrepancies that make me wonder whether this is just a slightly different parallel timeline sort of thing. It's like, it's not quite our world, but near enough. In terms of things that we learned, Sam's a concert pianist. He played Carnegie Hall when he was 19.
Well, yeah, I only learned that during the podcast here. That's a big revelation.
Did you have any others?
No.
Okay. Next week, we have Good Morning Peoria, where Sam has to bring rock and roll to rural Illinois. So we'll see you in 1959.
Until then,
Cheerio.
well then.